Right, hello everybody, and yeah, today we're going to have a little look at the black screen of death when playing PS2 games. Now, it's never occurred to me that this might be failing tokens, because when you get this black screen of death, there's no hint of it anywhere else. You can play PS1 games fine, you can play PS3 games fine, but you can't play PS2 games. Now, recently I've had a couple of scenarios where it will go black screen, but then as the tokens start to warm up, or as the system, should I say, starts to warm up, you can get it to boot. If you run Webman's fan control on a custom firmware, you're just not going to get this to boot, or it will boot irregularly. And I just don't. It's a bit puzzling, isn't it? But it does sound like classic token problems, because when a capacitor like a NEC token starts to warm up, then the properties of that token can actually go from a failing token to a working token. So basically, Tony359 on another video showed that when warming up a capacitor, you can get it to work temporarily. Now, it is temporarily. However, if you can imagine a console running at a certain temperature, and especially a PlayStation 3 like this on Syscon, what happens is that it starts to run into the mid 70 degrees, and that's more than enough heat for a NEC token or a capacitor to regenerate and to work. So that's one scenario it could be. I've tried tagging on a few capacitors, which would normally work when you're running PlayStation 3 games, for example, when they crash. I've tagged on a couple, one on each, one on the RSX, one on the CPU side, to the tokens. That hasn't done anything. Not that I can visibly see anyway. We could try tagging one more onto the CPU side, but it doesn't seem hopeful. Let's put it that way. So the only thing that we can seem to do is replace the tokens. Now, it's probably just one bad token, but we don't know where it is. Is it on the RSX side? Is it on the CPU side? We don't know, because we can't get a Syscon log. So it's likely it's CPU, but it could be RSX. So we'll have to go with what's likely, see if that's worked, and then move on to the other side, if that makes sense. So we'd have to do two here on the top side, test it, do the remaining two on the bottom side. Now we can do that with tantalizers. You don't need the bridging wire. It does it all for you. So you can do that. So we can replace all four on the CPU side. If that does nothing, we then need to move on to the RSX. And if we replace all of those and does nothing, well, then we then know at quite a cost. But I think we're going to do this in the interests of education. But yeah, we will then know it's an RSX issue. But it does depend on the running temperature. Now, this RSX issue, yeah, it could be. And we don't know, again, because we're not getting error codes, we're just getting a black screen, and then we have to turn it off, which will generate a 1001 or a 1002 or a 1004 error, depending on how the console's feeling. But it's an unexpected shutdown error, and that doesn't tell us anything. So I'm going to show you what I mean. Now, this has been puzzling people for a long time. It's like, what's going on? And people have tried everything, but I'm not sure if they've tried replacing the tokens. It seems like, you know, they've gone for RSX, or they've gone for the graphic synthesizer chip, or on this occasion the emotion engine, and I'm not sure they've ever actually replaced the tokens. Now, also, you have to understand that when you're replacing the tokens, they have to be high quality tantalum capacitors. They have to be low ESR. Now, thankfully, the ones I've got, I've tested them, and they're 7 microfarads, or 0.07 microfarads, so they're fine. But You could replace these with cheaper ones. Now, a lot of people do use the ones from AliExpress. I've tested those. Those run into 30 microfarads instead of 0.07. So that gives you an idea. It's like 3-4 times as much. That could cause, you know, the spikes within the system to then shut down. You know, if there's too much ESR there, it's not going to work properly. And one of the properties of a failing capacitor is the rising of the ESR. It gets higher and higher. If you start off on 30, that's not good. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's turn this on. Let's just get a little bit closer. That'll do. That's enough for you to see a black screen. Right. So, I'm going to bring up the temperatures. So it's 48 and 45. We put in Simpsons Hit and Run. And it is in direct relation to the temperatures, by the way, because I've then had it on, forced a cool down through Webman by setting it to 80% fan speed, and then it goes black screen again, so it's nothing to do with how long it's been switched on for. So as you can see, it's not booting. We haven't got the PS2 logo even. Nothing's really happening. We've just got the black screen. You can press the middle button, which a lot of people report you can do. You can quit out and you can select yes. Right. Let's bring up the temperatures again. I do have it on Syscon. So now you can see we're on 57 and 51. So there's more of a chance now. I'm going to take the disc out and put it back in. Now we've got the PlayStation 2 logo. Now it seems to be booting, and now we're booting. So on Syscon, it's unlikely anyone would ever really find this error, because you might get, for some reason it's crashed. I'll quit out, go restart the game. Oh look, it's working. Oh yeah, it was just a disk read or something, but it wasn't. Okay, let's quit out of this. And then I'll show you on dynamic fan control. Now, obviously Syscon gets this console way too hot and it does endanger the underfill on the RSX, which can then cause flip chip errors. So we go into Webman games, Webman setup, PS3 Webman setup. And the first thing I'll do is I'll cool this system down. Now let's just give it some around 29 and then PS2 emulation on 30%. let's not forget this has got liquid metal being delidded as well. This CPU would shoot up in temperature normally, and the moment that happens, this would run PS2 games. But there are failing capacitors now. I'm guessing the longer they run failing, when they eventually fail, it's a full fail. It's like, that's it. Nothing's going to bring it back. It's completely gone. It's too far gone to be revived by heat. And when that happens, then you could just permanently get your black screen. So I've pulled this down. Let's look there. Let's try putting some 35. Nope. That is interesting. Let's go system. Okay. So I can get the fan to slow down. Right, now let's go to auto. Right, it's constantly in PS2 mode because I've got a disc in there. Okay. Let's go 31. That's interesting, isn't it? I've got it the lowest set, but it's stuck in PS2 mode for some reason. So basically, I do need to save it and restart. Okay. It's acting really weirdly. It is acting weirdly. All because I've cooled it down. Is it even going to find the hard drive? I have tested the hard drive, by the way. That does work. Could not start. Okay. Yeah, no, you've definitely got a hard drive in there, so it's one of the first things I thought it was a failing hard drive. So I took the old one out, put a new one in. It's been tested on Crystal Disk Checker, it's all running fine. But you can just see the system's just starting to act a bit peculiar. I guess you could think nothing of it, think, oh, do you know, it's okay, blah blah blah. Now I'm trying to bring up temperatures and let's go into Webman Games, Webman setup again. I'd like to have this running at like 33, so I want to keep it cool to demonstrate the issue. This on 35. Same. Yeah, so now it does it. Wasn't doing that before. Okay, so now we've got the temperatures up. So CPU 54, RSX 52. We just saw this boot, but it was booting probably with the CPU in like 62, 63 degrees. And let's not forget, it gets there quickly on Syscon. You could boot this up, leave it for 60 seconds, like 1 minute, put in a PS2 game, this would work. This would actually reach the right temperature for either the RSX to work or the CPU tokens or the RSX tokens, or even the CPU. We don't know. This could be a CPU issue. But currently, it is looking like, to me, this could well be tokens. And there you can see there's the black screen. There's the black screen of death. If I press the middle button, I can get out of this. Get to temperatures again. So on 32% fan speed, the CPU just isn't going above 54, 55 degrees. And that means that every time we're going to get a black screen here. Or it's going to maybe give us part of it and freeze, but mostly black screen. See, we're now running at a temperature where either whatever component, oh, so there we have a PlayStation 2 logo. So it's trying, it's like whatever component this is, it's like, yeah, I can try, but now we've got the PS2 logo, but now it's not starting the game. So whatever the component it is that is failing, if it completely failed, this is always going to happen. It's going to give you a black screen. You might get the occasional PS2 logo, but then it's going to go black screen again. So we do know that the RSX does revive with heat. So I think the first thing we'll do is we'll pre-bake the ball, just like we would do if we were going to remove the RSX. But we won't remove the RSX, obviously. We're going to then test it. So that's what we'll do. And I will see you after this has had, and I don't think we'll need more than like an hour, 2 hours bake to remove all the moisture from here, because if I show you, I'm going to Webman Games, Webman Setup. Control stop doing that would be good. And I will show you how long. It's not had many. It's not high on runtime at all. I mean, there's a disparity of 114 times, so maybe you can add an extra 5 days. But either way, this is no more than 35 days old. You know, it's like, yeah. Yeah, it's just, mind you, 19, 26, 55, 27 days. Nineteen, 26, 55, 27 days. Oh. What is going on? Well, that's interesting, isn't it? The clock doesn't seem to be moving. Yeah. Okay, this isn't 27 days old. For some reason, I mean, maybe it just isn't updating now, but 1926.55, we do need to see that move. We do need to see this clock go up here. Okay, 1926, 55, 27 days. Right. On 772, off 658. Let's just turn this off and see if it updates. Mm-hmm. 1934.01. It is moving, but the clock isn't moving here at the moment for some reason. So yeah, it is registering. Yeah, 659 to the 658 off. Right. Okay. So that does seem to be working. So 1934.01, but it isn't going to move from that. Maybe if I come into setup and go back into it. 1934.01. No, it's not. It's only changing when you reboot it. That's really unusual for webman. That is unusual. This is the latest webman. Don't think there's an update. Okay, maybe there is. Don't worry, I'll speed up bits that are a bit boring, but yeah, we kind of have to look at everything here. I need to be sure of what's going on. Webman was updated, please reboot. Okay, so we can just go into the do a soft reboot. Maybe it needs a hard reboot for a webman update. We'll do a proper reboot as well, just in case. I don't want to. Just now having a look to see if the clock changes whilst we're looking at it. Yeah, so basically when we turn it on and off it registered, but normally it tells you how long you've been switched on for here. And you can see it refreshing and nothing's happening. So that's slightly unusual. Okay. But yes, it is. That is a true runtime, and as you can see, it's not that old. So now, I just want to show you this one last time. Here's the problem. This console is running at the CPU at 55 and an RSX at 53. Sometimes we get the PlayStation 2 logo, sometimes we don't. I've heard that reported before as well. Sometimes you just get black screen. It's asking me to press the PS button and I'm getting nothing else at this stage. And that's what will happen at this temperature. I will get a PlayStation 2 logo. So it tries to start, but then it can't. So we go to System. So we'll just run this on System, which means it will get warm quite quickly. So let's go to System. Let's go to Save. So the fan is silent, 20% fan speed is silent. It's just like, you can hear the Blu-ray drive more when it spins the disc than you can the fan. It is upping the RSX temp as well as the CPU temp. So this is where it becomes difficult because we can't keep one of them cool. We can't keep one side of the console cool and the other side warm. Because if we could do that, then we could probably work out which side of the console, whether it's RSX side or CPU side, that we've got the problem with. But I do remember somebody saying that the RSX switches off through PS2 emulation. It only runs CPU. And if that's the case, so now we've got 60, if that's the case, then it probably is CPU or CPU tokens. Now we get the PlayStation 2 logo. We're at 60% on the CPU side and about 56, 57 on the RSX. I'll now press this. And here we go, and it's now running the game. Now, as you can imagine though, whatever's failing, it's definitely failing. We've got something failing in there. We don't know what it is at this stage, so baking the console 100 degrees or 120 degrees for like 2 or 3 hours. What that's going to do is take all the moisture out, but it's also going to basically revive components with heat, like the RSX. Now, this doesn't work with the NEC tokens if they're failing, because I've tried it before and it just doesn't work. You might get it to work for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, but then it'll fail again. So if we get a constantly working console after a bake, then the chances are it was the underfill on the RSX failing, which is really weird, isn't it, because of the top runtime. If we bake it and nothing changes, then we need to go for the tokens. It's been documented somebody's tried reballing and it didn't solve the issue. Somebody's tried Frankenstein and it didn't resolve the issue. So yeah, we don't need to try that. But I'm not sure if anyone's replaced all the tokens. It's just a weird thing, isn't it? It's like, why would you do it? It's not. Surely a token issue would display itself on PS3 games as well as maybe PS1 games as well. Here you can see it's running it fine. Whatever component has the issue, it's now happy at this temperature and can run the game fine. But the moment we cool it down, it can't. So we'll bake this and I'll see you after the bake. Right, okay, so yeah, we have just baked this for a couple of hours, and interestingly now the RSX has gone from a reading of 0.8 ohms to 1.2. So although there's no sign of this RSX failing, we are getting some sort of indication that it wasn't in the best of health. We just don't know why. And we've had no RSX errors on here at all, so it's like, okay. I think just we need a good, someone needs to come up with an emulator that runs from disk for these. So when we get these problems, we can use that. That'd be nice. Right, okay. So I set it so that basically we would have fan straight away. Don't want auto start. That's off, that's good. We need to check the temps. Okay, eventually. Alright, so that's cool. There's just no way that that would normally work. And I don't think it's going to work again. Oh no, PlayStation 2 logo straight away. That's unusual. Holy shit. Well, there you go. Wow, that. So the reading has gone up from 0.8 to 1.2. So that's when you measure the plus and the minus and the tokens on the RSX side. So it is RSX. I mean, obviously it's got an extra capacitor there now. We do need to double check. Let's just do date and time. Let's double check these codes. Okay. You get that occasionally. No, there just isn't anything. It's just a load of Fs. Okay, so we don't actually know on this console. 1st of Jan. Or was it 12 o'clock? Yeah, because obviously 1970, yeah, because there was no clock battery in there. I mean, let's have a look at this again. So before, it just wouldn't, even on this, at 54, 53, you might get the PS2 logo, but you'll go black screen. Let's give it the ultimate test. Let's run it at 80% fan speed, as cool as possible, and try to run a PS2 game. Okay. And we just got to make sure that also this is set to 80. Lowest 80. I might send it to 79. Let's just try that. Okay, that's super cool. Let's see if it can boot it now. Yeah. does look to be completely resolved. I will put the former on the tokens just in case. Just keep them warm just in case it's all goes back. Yeah, we've never been able to run like this before. Game, see if we can play it. This is playing, it's got no issues. It couldn't be any cooler. It's running at full fan, and before this had to get to a certain temperature. So something has needed heat, but the fact that the RSX is reading 0.8 through the token, so that means the plus and the negative of the tokens are reading 0.8. After the bake, they're reading 1.3. I think that's that. But yeah, that's working. In and out of the emulation. Well, I think we'll take it to 80% now. Just to give you an idea, that's the temperature that was running at in the PS2 games, 47 and 45. Yeah, not many problems there. Just try another PS2 game. Oh, it's super cool. Okay. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is running. Yeah. 54 and 50. I thought I asked it to go higher than that for webman. Let's have a look. I thought I was 30. Oh, yeah, I want 33, don't I? Because it's always one below. Well, it does look like if you have an issue, I haven't got to the bottom of it. The idea was to basically rule out the RSX, and by heating up the console for 3 hours, baking it at 120 degrees, and then letting it cool down naturally in the oven, just keep the oven door shut, leave it for a few hours until it's cool, then take it out. That then will revive flip chip errors on RSXs. So if there is a slight error there, or the RSX is like, you know, there's something not quite right with the die sitting on the chip, and it might be causing PS2 problems, playback, then we rule that out, because obviously we do that and then we play the disc, and if it still doesn't work, we know it's not RSX. But unfortunately, it also can revive tokens, and by doing what I've done, I am none the wiser. But we do know that the tokens were reading 0.8 and now they're reading 1.3. That tells me that the RSX wasn't in the greatest of health, and now it is, and now it will play PS2 games. It never started on these temperatures before. So yeah, let's pause. So yeah, as I was saying, it was never booting up before, and the fact that we had those readings of 0.8, which has now gone up to 1.3. We're now getting PS2 playback. So that's telling me this could be a potential RSX problem. I know you get them on 40 nanometers as well. And they're unlikely to flip chip. But can they? When putting it back on, is it possible to give it enough heat so that the die melts? Or the die, you know, the underfill, and it flip chips it slightly? I don't know. But the issue has now gone on this console. After much investigation, the issue's gone. I'm probably leaning towards 80% that the RSX was just slightly off alignment, and now it's okay. Right, thanks for watching.